to lead the Broncos to an offensive touchdown, but the defense was able to pick up the slack, sacking Derek Carr 4 times and returning Carr's only interception for a touchdown. The Broncos improved to 5-0 with the 16-10 win over the Raiders. Stephen A., how concerned should this Broncos team be with number 18?
I think they should be incredibly concerned, personally, Skip, Molly, because here's the deal. Your running game, C.J. Anderson, Ronnie Hillman, combined for only 43 yards on 18 carries. They didn't even average 2.5 yards a carry. If you're not running the football, you're putting that much more pressure on Peyton Manning. Those 2 interceptions he threw, by the way, to the ageless wonder that is Charles Woodson, who never had an interception in his career against Peyton Manning.
2 39-year-olds.
That's pretty good.
Right? 2 39-year-olds is
Charles
crazy.
Woodson is phenomenal. Phenomenal, considering his age and the position that he plays and what he was able to do. Excuse me. And that second interception was spectacular. And that was a flooded ball on the part of Peyton Manning. There was no zip, a lot of air under that ball. Charles Woodson read it all the way, went over there and snatched it out of the air. I give him a lot of credit for that. But nevertheless, the fact is that Peyton Manning, some of his passes, I know, Skip, you religiously say he never had the strongest of an arm to begin with, but some of these passes are quite alarming in terms of how long it takes them to get to their destination. And I look at it from that perspective, the absence of a running game, the fact that, again, Oakland, we're talking about a team that's real weak against tight ends. Peyton Manning targeted Owen Daniels 5 times, not 1 reception at all, against a team who's notoriously weak in defending the tight end spot. Steelers playing tonight. They've given up 4 touchdowns to tight ends as well. Something else we'll talk about maybe a little bit later. But I look at the Oakland Raiders, and I'm just saying they were ripe to be had. They're on the come up. They look better, despite the game-saving interception by Chris Harris for the Broncos, who's been on our show, who's a damn good cornerback and doesn't get nearly as much credit as he deserves, returning that 74-yard interception for a touchdown. Denver's defense is big time. Shane Ray and those boys coming in replacement of DeMarcus Ware after he went out with the back injury. Somehow, some way, when you look at this defense, they just step up. And they show up, and they got 22 sacks on the season thus far. That's incredibly impressive. That's 4.5 a game. So I'm looking at this pass rush. I'm looking at their secondary. They've got the secondary. They've got the ability with Von Miller and others to get to the quarterback. You got Aqib Talib and Chris Harris back there. I look at them as a very, very impressive defense. Dare I say potentially elite. They keep this up, it will be verified. But offensively, this team is not winning a Super Bowl with this offense, playing the way that this offense is playing. You're not going to be able to pull this off against Cincinnati. You're not going to be able to pull this off against Pittsburgh once Big Ben Roethlisberger comes back. And you're certainly not going to be able to pull this off against New England, led by Tom Brady. So somehow, some way, your offense has to get back to the business of scoring points. No touchdowns, 2 interceptions by Peyton Manning, a running game that is suspect, and really no tight end to speak of. Because when you think about the loss of Julius Thomas, so now in Jacksonville, the fact of the matter is that having him there with Emmanuel Sanders being sandwiched by Emmanuel Sanders on one side and Demaryius Thomas on the other was a very, very big deal. There appears to be a hole in the middle of Denver's offense combined with the running game. Essentially, what you're asking is a 39-year-old quarterback, as brilliant as he has been, with a suspect arm at this stage of his career in terms of consistency, Skip. Not that he can't make the throw. It's that over the course of 60 minutes, how many of those throws can you make relying on folks on the outside instead of folks in the middle of the field? That is not going to produce a Super Bowl appearance or a Super Bowl title for you. I'm very concerned about Denver.
Okay. Before I answer Molly's question, allow me to say I did go way out on a limb and say the Raiders would upset the Broncos in the Black Hole. And midway 4th quarter, Derek Carr had driven his team all the way to Denver's 31-yard line.
He did.
They're within field goal range to go ahead 10-9. And on 3rd and 5, you talked about it. He threw it to Chris Harris Jr. I don't know what Derek Carr was thinking, and it goes 74 yards the other way, and they lost. That's how close Oakland was to pulling that game off. I still love this young Raiders team. It's coming, and obviously Denver's offense is going down. It's going south right now. But now we're back to the question. Am I ready to jump off this bandwagon? Is it time for panic in Denver, Colorado? Absolutely not, because of everything you just said. we've got to give Peyton Manning a big break. He has next to no running game to complement his mediocre arm. He's always had a mediocre arm, but he's often had a decent running game, especially in Denver. The last, 7 or 8 games last year down the stretch in Denver, I thought they had the best rushing attack in pro football. And now you get 43 yards against the Raiders yesterday. Now you're averaging 71.6 yards a game. Do you realize if that held for the whole year, that would be Denver's franchise low for a season in its history? You have to go all the way back to 1961 when they averaged 77.9 yards rushing a game.
Right.
They're way under that at 71.6 now. Well, that's shocking to me. That's reason for panic. Right. You've gone from the best rushing attack to, I think, the worst rushing attack? Really?
Yeah, I agree, but Skip, allow me to go back to my initial point, my major point, rather, about all of this. It's a football field. We watch the football game on TV, and we're not appreciating how wide a football field really, really is. And so when you look at it from that perspective and you're thinking about questions about the arm strength of a 39-year-old who wants experience for neck surgeries, okay? And your target, your main weapons are on the outside. You give him nothing in the interior, and you give him not to say Owen Daniels is nothing, but you give him virtually nothing compared to what you once had, at least at this particular moment. It appears that way. Nothing in the middle and nothing behind him to run the football. By the way, we didn't even get into the offensive line, which has been suspect all year long. They switched Columbus and some other guys in and out trying to change bodies on the offensive line. So let me get this straight. I'm Peyton Manning. I'm 39 years of age. We've got me on this football field. I've got people behind me ain't performing. I've got somebody at the tight end spot to really shorten the field and narrow the scope for me. It's not much there compared to what I'm accustomed to having. And oh, by the way, in the midst of all of that, I have a suspect offensive line. That's a problem. And so to me, it just speaks to the greatness, like you said, of a Peyton Manning, because to me, I find it miraculous that he's doing what he's been able to do in terms of moving the change, dictating pace, chewing up the clock, making sure his defense gets some rest. Peyton Manning is helping out in ways that people don't even realize, because what happens is the defense isn't overwhelmed because they're exhausted from being out on the field every minute because their offenses are walking 3 and out. But he's not producing points the way we're accustomed to seeing him, because for some reason, the combination of John Elway and Gary Kubiak didn't address his needs as much as they tried to address the team's needs.
Well, can I get to the bottom line, which is 5-0? I mean, they're 5-0, right? Peyton Manning is 5-0. I mean, that's pretty great given everything we just said.
Well, him, Fran Tarkenton, Tom Brady, the only one who's done it more than 4 times in their career. We get all of that. The flip side to it, Skip Bayless, is this. When you're that great, we're not measuring you by what you do in the regular season. We're expecting, with greatness, we get to leapfrog and anticipate what you are going to do when moments count. Come to me and talk to me if Jay Cutler's 5-0. Okay? Talk to me if a Carson Palmer is 5-0. Talk to me when guys like that are 5-0. But somebody who has a history of regularly being a dominant fixture in the regular season, forgive us. You're measured against your own greatness. It's not an insult to you.
So, yesterday against an up-and-coming, rugged, Rough Rider defense, that Oakland Raider defense, hey, Khalil Mack is no joke.
I know Khalil Mack is no joke.
Justin Tuck is no joke.
You said the defense. You didn't say 2 people, okay?
Charles Woodson's still no joke.
I know Charles Woodson is no joke.
So here's the point. Against that defense at their place, Peyton Manning goes 22 of 35 for 266. I'll take him over Brandon Weeden. I got to tell you, if you give me Peyton Manning next time the Cowboys play at your Giants,
I'll take it. That's not exactly a ringing endorsement.
Well, but I'm just saying,
really?
I'll take it. Okay, so yesterday he had 0 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. I think a lot of this overreaction to poor Peyton, this gnashing of teeth, is fantasy madness. It's fantasy inspired, and the world has gone fantasy mad. But it's like, he didn't throw a touchdown pass. What is he up to now? I don't even know. I've lost track. Is he 6 and?
I don't know, but he's won 2 games this season without scoring an offensive touchdown.
Yeah,
it's got like 7 interceptions.
Yeah. Okay. So my point is, everybody's fixated on the low touchdown passes because the world needs Many fantasy owners need Peyton to throw lots of touchdown passes, right? And he's not throwing touchdowns. Oh, my God, he's washed up. But the only number I care about is 5 and 0.
Well, Skippy's got 6 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
Okay,
Let me say this to you. I don't pay attention that much to fantasy football. Maybe we should. Because I got news for you. It matters from the perspective of looking at him and his level of production and what position he's been placed in. When you talk about the New England Patriots, you talk about Super Bowl. When you talk about the Dallas Cowboys, you talk about Super Bowl aspirations. One of the reasons we haven't really focused on the Cincinnati Bengals, if we're being honest, is because we don't really believe in them as of yet, because they don't produce in the postseason. So what I'm saying to you, when you even with Eli Manning, we can sit up there and talk about how he led the league in interceptions 3 times in his career, but he's also got 2 rings. So somehow,
I don't know how, but he
I'm
does.
just saying, somehow, yeah, you
Elite.
do. He knows how.
Spell it.
All the bottom line is this: you know that there is a possibility that Eli Manning is going to be there when it counts. Peyton Manning is supposed to be there when it counts. And what we're seeing is a defense that can propel them. And we're asking the question: can this team take you to a Super Bowl? And we both know with the way this offense is playing, that answer is hell no.
Hell no?
Hell no.
Wow. Okay.
As we mentioned, the Broncos have
They
won
gonna win the
2
West?
games.
Yeah, what's that saying?
Well,
San Diego,
it says
Kansas
you're gonna
City,
get a
and
home
Oakland?
playoff game.
Kansas City, San Diego, Oakland. Really? Well, you want a cookie?
I want a home playoff
Kansas
game.
City's
I got
secondary
one.
is
I'd like a
decimated.
cookie.
Jamal Charles is out now. The Oakland
Okay.
Raiders are on the come up.
Well,
and
that's what I'm
San
saying.
Diego, we're trying to discover whether or not they're relevant. They get Antonio Gates back today.
We'll
after
find
his
out.
4-game suspension.
Yep.
God bless him.
Can I get this nugget out I really like? The Broncos have won 2 games this season without scoring an offensive touchdown. The rest of the league, 0 wins when failing to score a TD on offense. Team effort?
Good
Can I
nugget.
get a cookie?
Defense.
I like it. You get a whole bag of
Defense.
cookies.
Defense.
All right, the Eagles didn't have that issue. Their offense was explosive against the Saints. Is this the offense that we have been waiting for? Our former Eagle, Eric Allen, will join the desk. Back in a few.